Today we're going to be talking about ChatGPT 3 as a real estate investor and real estate coach. And ChatGPT, if you haven't heard about it, is taking the internet by storm. And basically what it does is talk about certain topics. It makes it really easy for people to copyright or learn about new things. And it's kind of a cool search engine. And we're going to go into depth on how we can be using it as real estate investors and real estate coaches and how we can better help our students or anyone that basically is trying to get into this field. First off, let's go ahead and ask it, what is ChatGPT 3? GPT-3 is a language generation model developed by OpenAI. It is one of the largest and most powerful language models currently available with a capacity of 175 billion parameters. This is getting kind of long. Let's try to shorten this and make it simpler. GPT-3, can you please simplify this and summarize in one sentence? GPT-3 is a large language model developed by OpenAI that can generate human-like text and can be fine-tuned for various language tasks such as translation, summarization, and question answering. Still too complex for me. Still confused. Can you dumb it down for me? Sure. GPT-3 is a computer program that has been trained to understand and generate human-like text. It is able to do this by analyzing a large amount of text data and learning the patterns and structures of language. GPT-3 can then use this knowledge to generate new text that is similar to text that a human might write. It can be used for tasks such as generating responses to questions or creating summaries of longer text. Does that help clarify things? Let me know if you have any other questions. Sounds good to me. So now we know what ChatGPT is and what it's kind of capable of based off its own words. Let's dive into some questions that people sometimes ask me as a real estate investor. The first question we'll ask is, should you house hack in 2023? Okay. So it is not appropriate for me to provide specific financial advice as I'm a language model and do not have access to your personal finance situation or knowledge of your future circumstances. Wow. So this is quite interesting. It is important to carefully consider your own financial goals and resources before making any financial decisions, such as whether to invest in real estate. There are potential benefits and risks to house hacking. They may not be the right choice for everyone. Some factors to consider when deciding whether to house hack include your financial stability, the local real estate market, and your long-term financial goals. It is a good idea to consult with a financial advisor or professional before making any major financial decisions. So whether you should house hack in 2023, I have a really in-depth answer to this question. In another video, I'll leave it for you at the end. But basically, you should consider house hacking in 2023 if you don't have much to start off with, especially if you're like 25 to like 44 and you're just getting your savings started and you don't have $20 million to just buy a house out cash. Leverage is going to be great because basically, the government actually incentivizes you to become a homeowner by letting you put only 3.5% down, which is really amazing. In addition to that, because you're having an asset in your portfolio, say if the market starts to boom again, you're not priced out, and what you can eventually do is basically just either sell the house or do a cash out refi so you can continue investing in real estate, or you can buy index funds. So yes, you should house hack in 2023. Not financial advice. So the next question that a lot of real estate investors will ask me, how to figure out how much rent I will receive from a short-term rental. So there are a few steps you can follow to determine how much rent you can expect to receive from a short-term rental property. 1. Research the local market. Look at comparable short-term rentals in your area to get an idea of what other hosts are charging. Consider factors such as the location, size, and the amenities of the property. Very true. So I always recommend that people do market research before going into any market, because if the market is strong, it's going to justify holding the property longer than 30 years, hopefully, unless there's like some sort of black swan event. 2. Determine the demand for your property. Consider the demand for short-term rentals in your area and the types of travelers who are likely to be interested in your property. For example, a vacation rental in a popular tourist destination may have higher demand and should be able to command higher prices than a rental in a less popular location. Yes, so I'm all about actually buying rentals in vacation places, especially if it's well established in places such as Gatlinburg, Tennessee, Joshua Tree, California. People have been coming to these national parks basically for however long they've been established as national parks, and probably even longer than that. And then you can actually track the trends too. So if you can see that people are maybe getting tired of a park, you'll see that there will be less visitors in the park. But so far, if you track the amount of visitors that come to these places over time, it generally tends to be increasing, especially during COVID. when a lot of people were stuck at home and people wanted more space and they want to basically go on vacation and have like an individual home to spend with their family. These are really great options, and that for that reason In 2021, it was booming. Now they always talking about like, oh, it's 2022, the Airbnb bust, but honestly, it's still doing great. We probably miss out on like maybe like $2,000 to $3,000 worth of income, but if you're making $13,000 to $15,000 per month already on that rental income, it's still really a home run in my eyes. So number 3, set your rates. Based on your research and demand for your property, determine the rates you will charge for your short-term rental. Be sure to consider any additional costs such as cleaning fees or fees for additional guests. So yeah, so with short-term rentals, that's true. I wish it was a little bit more in depth. They tell you click for additional fees, but what are those additional fees? I'm pretty sure you can ask this and they would give you a really good example. That's probably what I've noticed is really cool. So what are the additional fees that short-term rentals have for an owner? There are a number of additional fees that short-term rental owners may need to consider. 1, cleaning fees. So great, they got that. 2, guest fees. Places like Airbnb have a platform fee. Linen and laundry fees, yes. Again, that kind of falls within the cleaning fees. Security deposits, taxes, insurance. Yeah, so some things are also missing out on are like electrical costs, internet, trash, sewage, water. To be honest, like the security, taxes, and insurance, that's kind of like with all rentals, not just short-term rentals. So again, this is kind of good, but not quite where I would feel comfortable that if I was teaching someone this, to make sure that they account for all these expenses, because there's more than just these expenses. Maybe that's one reason why coaches do a better job than ChatGPT. And we'll go back to the last question they asked, which was review and adjust your rates. Keep an eye on your occupancy rate and demand for your property. If your property is consistently fully booked, you may be able to increase your rates. If you are having difficulty filing a calendar, you may need to adjust your rates to be more competitive. So there's also a way to do this easier. So there's a product called Price Labs. Basically, it'll help you determine the prices for your rentals, and there's actually other things that you can use to have it automatically adjust based off how many people are in the area too. So say for 1 week that all the rentals are pretty much open, Price Labs will sometimes automatically adjust for that. For example, if it's a holiday and all the places are booked up, Price Labs will automatically increase the prices on your rentals. So it's good to know what things generally cost, because you don't want to get 100% occupancy, because that means that you're likely renting for too cheap. But if you're having like 25% occupancy, you're probably having prices that are too high. So using products such as Price Labs will actually take away this whole headache. If you have a really good property manager, it'll probably be a non-issue to even think about rates, to be honest. The only thing I mentioned as an investor is you need to figure out what the upfront rates are. Because if you don't know what you're expected to bring in, then it's going to be really hard to figure out what your cash on cash return is going to be for these short-term rentals. So pretty solid advice on how to figure out how much rent you'll receive from a short-term rental. Pretty okay advice on should you house hack in 2023. I give the first one probably like a 5 in the response. It's not anything super specific, not tailored to anyone, but obviously this is a chat platform. Maybe if I dug a little bit deeper and basically told the platform a little bit more about finances, it would be more willing to give me a more specific answer, but who knows, maybe we'll try that in another video. So far, using ChatGPT as a real estate coach, I would probably say not the only resource I would use, but it's definitely something I would take a look into. So if your coach or your mentor is not available for a quick answer, this is a great way to get some quick info and possibly at least get an idea of what you're looking into. But what I would say is trust it, but make sure you verify a lot of the information that you're getting from this, probably with someone who's more experienced. And for more free information on topics just like this on real estate, personal finance, and self-development, make sure to hit the like, comment, and sub for me, okay? Thanks in advance. Now we're gonna really niche down and see if we can answer some of the really juicy, difficult, specific questions. Can you explain how to buy a house using subject 2? I'm sorry, but it's not clear what you are asking about subject 2. Could you please provide more context or clarify your question? How to buy a home using subject 2. Here you go. So all I have to do is change the number 2 to TO. Subject 2 is a type of real estate transaction in which a buyer purchases a property subject to the existing mortgage on the property. In a subject 2 transaction, the buyer takes ownership of the property, but the seller's mortgage remains in place. The buyer assumes responsibility for making monthly mortgage payments, but the seller's name remains on the mortgage until it's paid off or refinanced. That's pretty freaking amazing. And look at all the extra steps that they're explaining about how to actually do it. It's pretty dang thorough. I'd give this explanation almost a 10 out of 10. Let's see if it knows about the due on sale clause. What to do if the bank calls your loan using a due on sale clause. A due on sale clause is a provision in a mortgage that gives the lender the right to demand that the borrower pay off the loan in full if the property securing the loan is sold or transferred to a new owner. This is another really solid explanation by ChatGPT. And let's see if it gives us a really good explanation on how to actually do it. Talk to a real estate attorney, financial advisor, negotiate with the banker. This is pretty dang good. It's important to act quickly because your loan is due, and if you don't pay back the bank, they have the right to actually take back your home. There's a number of things you can do to actually get past the due on sale clause. The best way that I have heard so far is basically just calling up the lender who is calling the loan and basically trying to negotiate with them. Pretty solid advice from ChatGPT 3, and very surprised that it came up with such a decent answer. If we decide to dig a little bit deeper on this, I'm pretty sure it's possible, and they'll give us a pretty good response. Let's see. What questions to ask a bank who is calling your loan using the due on sale clause? If a bank is calling your loan due to a due on sale clause, you may want to ask the following questions. Not bad, mainly because they're asking relatively good open-ended questions such as what are the terms, what are the timelines, and what are the options. Can you negotiate with another bank? So this is really good. This is actually kind of scary because what's the point of like having a lot of cheat sheets or guides and stuff if you can get a lot of this stuff from here, depending on whether you can figure out what are the right questions to ask, minus like having someone verify it. But say this is in the future and you're basically well established and people finally start to trust AI, why would you believe a human versus asking these? Yeah, and that's kind of about it. We can go into much deeper, of course. But I thought these were some pretty good examples of how ChatGPT could be useful for new real estate investors. The pitfalls of ChatGPT 3. Basically, it lacks the experiences and successes and failures that people actually bring onto the table, so it can't answer questions like, should your house hack in 2023? Or that should actually be a relatively simple question depending on the person's situation or finances. It can help you move forward as a real estate investor if you have a ton of questions, but it can't be the one that's obviously taking action. So again, it's just AI and it's just providing words. So at the end of the day, it's still up to you and the people around you to kind of push the real estate deals forward. Overall, I like the advice that ChatGPT gives, even as a real estate investor coach, mainly because it provides a way for new investors to basically learn more about it. The only issue is sometimes new investors might not know the right answers to ask. So if you can either get like a book from Long Distance Real Estate Investing or the Bird Book by David Green, or basically read some of my cheat sheets that I give out for free on my website, that will kind of give you an idea to start and basically walk you through the process of actually buying a home. And once you figure out the process of buying a home, which you could actually probably ask ChatGPT 3, basically dig into each specific part, that will kind of give you the best path forward. The only issue is sometimes people don't really trust AI because it's so new, but eventually I think it will get to a point where people will start to trust it much more and it will become more of a normal thing. But at this point, I believe ChatGPT should be used as more of a support tool than the actual primary way for you to buy a real estate investment. Here's a link to that video I promised.